And welcome back, everybody. Um, Today, I'd like to talk to you about the death of Robin Hood. Transition to review. All right, the death of Robin Hood. 1 week into its maybe underwhelming opening, sitting at number 6 on the top 10 of the box office currently, still riding behind the Backrooms, Obsession, ultimately, you know, Disclosure Day, a lot of these films like this. Even Scary Movie, I think, is still above it. It might not be. Sitting around 32 million in its opening weekend, which is about probably at or just below cost for this film. Let's talk about it. Because if you haven't seen it in its opening week, I do feel like this is a good one, but you should know before you go into it what to expect. So, uh, here's the thing about the death of Robin Hood. It is not Logan. A lot of the cast, Hugh Jackman, Jodie Comer, even Bill Skarsgård, make this feel like a star-studded standout in the same vein as old man type tale like Logan or something in the same nature. This film is nothing like those films. So, beneath the legendary tales of Robin Hood lies a cruel joke that an older Robin and Little John must finally face, is kind of the opening line that I give this film. The truth behind their desire to leave it all behind and begin a new chapter is overshadowed by the reality of the outlaws and murderers they became. So ultimately, for me, this film only works on the level that you understand the story that this movie is trying to tell. I feel like John Sarnowski does a very good job at kind of telling an old man Robin Hood type story. I did not read the source material. I know this is based on a short tale or book under the same name. Ultimately, I feel like this movie kind of belongs to the cinematography, the writing, and the execution by the cast. And so the real meat and potatoes of this story is sort of the idea of what the truth behind a legend like Robin Hood would be, which is the idea that they become violent criminals and they're not really the heroes that we all grew up knowing from Disney or Men in Tights or things like that. But in truth, they are just real life criminals, not unlike, Bonnie and Clyde, where they can get, commercialized and become something that they never really were. Even Robin Hood addresses this to Little John when they're talking in the film. He says, those legends were legends that we even started believing, but ultimately they are just that. They are tales. Nothing more. We are truly deserving of this path that leads us to our death. So, Hugh Jackman delivers an inspired performance, making this role feel believable while balancing the film's dark subject matter with cruel humor, almost at a Shakespearean level, of a life left behind and the ghosts and the people that will continue to haunt it for him until his end. Ultimately, I will say that he does an amazing, amazing job. He's a standout, just committing to this role and not making it echo too much from other films like it that he's done recently, whether we're talking about Song Sung Blue or Logan or even Deadpool and Wolverine. He doesn't make it feel like any other role he's ever played. It's very dark and grounded. Bill Skarsgård, for the time that he is on screen, that we get to spend time with Little John, he does an amazing, amazing job playing the role. He's a very convincing, violent sidekick to an aging Robin Hood, as they're both, getting older and slower and just more gruesome, which is one of the things that stood out to me about this film, was just the level of violence. They did not pull any punches. In fact, this sort of violence doesn't feel anything like what any other film would. It feels very disgusting and nasty and sort of like, why is this happening? Why do we have to watch this? It doesn't necessarily sometimes feel fun. The violence is it's just that. It's violence. And it's sort of, TVMA, and it's very just nasty, I'd say. Very gruesome. So go into it knowing that. You're going to watch for the cinematography and the idea that maybe, there's something beyond that is just, the story will get you, and it will definitely be a good watch, but it's not a action-packed thing that we were kind of sold on. It's more of a grounded slog through what it really means to become an old man Robin Hood and sort of that lifestyle. So, but let's talk about Jodie Comer now. She's another great addition to this tale. Obviously, she's an amazing actress. I could see her getting nominated for a supporting role for an Oscar if this one goes that far. I don't know if it will. But she serves as a much-needed reflection on what could have been for Robin and Little John had they not chosen the path they are currently ending their strides on. Obviously, big spoiler alert here. Both of our heroes die. If you guys didn't want to know that, I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. This movie lives up to its own name. This is, in fact, the death of Robin Hood. There's nothing heroic or inspiring about his death. It's sort of just at the end of the line. And she kind of brings that part of his story to a much-needed close near the end of the film, where we kind of spend time with her in this monastery, sort of paradise place with Robin, where he realizes he can never have this because of who he is and what he's become. And the fact that even his ghosts haunt him in the most perfect place on earth for him, which is away across a shore, even away from his problems. He can't run away. Ultimately, the vision behind this story is clear, Never meet your heroes. They are usually just like you, only more messed up and with skeletons in their closet that they're not ultimately willing to address. So, sorry, my camera glitches out. I couldn't tell you why it's doing that. But The Death of Robin Hood is a great film. Ultimately, this is definitely a critic's film. I loved it because I consider myself a film nerd, but most normal people will probably either get it or not. There's kind of no middle ground here. You either understand the dark tones, cautionary lessons, and of course, if nothing else, you'll love the cinematography and the production design of it all. It's very definitely tonally correct for this type of movie, and the Irish countryside definitely doesn't hurt its case in this scenario. Ultimately, if you haven't seen it at this point and you're kind of wondering, oh, do I go see it or not? I can't really tell you. It's a good movie, and maybe it's okay to just let it be a good movie. This is, one of my favorites. This is definitely, like I said, for a certain type of cinema enthusiast that just loves cinema at its core. But other than that, it can kind of feel dry at times. Like I said, we spend a lot of time just walking around the countryside with these characters and avoiding death, and we spend a lot of time just doing, end of life type scenarios. But there are those moments where we get the beauty of just, watching Robin Hood become something in his later years that maybe he always wanted to be, but could never be because of just the path that he started himself on. So I think ultimately I'd give it about, maybe 5.5 stars to, maybe 6 stars. Ultimately, I'd say go watch it. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely do yourself a favor, and it's a good treat for those of us kind of hoping to dip our feet into something that's just cinematic beauty, because this movie is not a movie. This is a nerd movie. So if you're hoping to kind of become that person that's like, I really understand cinema, this is your gateway film for that type of thing, because at every level, technically it is amazing, and even story-wise, it's even better. But you will only get it if you're willing to sit through the about 2.5 hours that it has to tell you that story. And I don't think you'll walk out of the theater disappointed. So ultimately, that will be my closing thoughts on The Death of Robin Hood from A24 and Michael Sarnowski. I think I said John Sarnowski earlier. I'm sorry about that, but he does a great job with it. Cast is amazing, so go see it. That will be it for this video. Look forward to seeing this weekend Supergirl's coming out along with a couple others, so be looking for those coming soon. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to do a review for Supergirl, but let me know in the comments below if you went out and saw The Death of Robin Hood and what you thought. If you liked it, if you loved it, if you hated it, just let me know. Shout out to all my viewers. Make sure if you're not subscribed to subscribe. YouTube says that about 90% of my viewers aren't subscribed, so if you consider subscribing, it would mean the world to me. Shout out to all my viewers, including all of you guys in Canada. Hello there. It's good to meet you all, and you all just have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.